Alright, let's get started.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to Hindi University. Really excited to meet all of you this Sunday. As you know, we meet every Sunday 8 a.m. US Pacific time, which is the time in the west coast of the US, to learn about the Hindi languages. For those of you who are new to Hindi University, you can learn more about us by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hindi University. And if you're interested in joining the live sessions that we have free every Sunday, you can find out all the details on this page, which is tiny.cc/Hindi University. I definitely encourage all of you to check out all the pages of the sheet where you will have different informations. If you missed any of the previous classes, you can find the link there. If you're interested in joining the practice sessions, which is another tab, we have practice sessions in 2 different time zones to meet the need of all the folks in different locations, hosted by the Hindi University students only. So I definitely recommend you to check it out and make sure if you have any recommendations for the time that works for you, to share that as well. Okay. As you know, last year we covered the book called Teach Yourself Hindi. You can find all the previous lectures here as well, and now we are covering 2 different books, which is first one is Pingu Learns Hindi, which is a complete beginner book, and the second one we are going over is Advanced Hindi Grammar, which is the book written by Usha Jain. Okay, so in case if you don't have the copy of the book, you can get the soft copy on this page as well. And to give a little bit of context, in the last 2 classes, what we covered is so far basically the introduction in Hindi. How with just simple pattern called main, whom, you can say 6 or 7 or even more types of sentences and introduce yourself. Then we also covered the use of may and say postposition, how to use may and say postpositions and make simple sentences. That was sort of we covered from Pingu Learns Hindi. And from the advanced Hindi grammar, we covered Hindi participles. What are Hindi participles? It's an interesting concept that we covered. We covered the use of how to use them in an adjective form. Okay, in this class we will continue to build on the introduction, and we will use a very important Hindi formula. Okay, and you will use it, and my goal is by the end of this class all of you will memorize that Hindi formula, which is extremely important for all of you. Okay, also from advanced Hindi grammar, my goal for this class is that by the end of this class all of you will be able to use the participles in the adverbial form. I know it sounds complicated, but bear with me. When we go to the topic, it will all make sense. Okay. With that in mind, as always, feel free to ask as many questions as possible throughout the class, and we'll take it out. Okay. So let's get started. First, we will start with if I may ask some of you to volunteer. Like when we spoke about the last 2 classes, I want to really see if some of you can go over the Hindi introduction, just a basic introduction, Hindi intro, using main, whom, and also the postposition main and say. Anyone can raise your hand, and I can ask you guys to. And this is just to kind of give a little bit of more confidence to. If anyone, if you missed the previous class, you will get a chance to hear, how we can use these patterns. So, if I may, I can probably just volunteer some of you. Anna Ji, you want to go? If you feel comfortable,
Okay. How do I start? मेरा नाम आना है. मैं Germany से हूँ. What do I say?
Just say whatever comes to your mind.
मैं paputai ko. Is it right? Paputai ko. Is it I'm very tired?
That's good.
Okay, how can I say, I like India very much. Me Bharat, no, how can I say it right? Participle.
मुझे भारत पसंद है.
मैं हिंदी 3 साल से participle. ये काफी है.
Very good. Keep going.
Nothing else to say.
Okay, you can use your profession also, like, let's say if you're an engineer, मैं engineer हूँ. If you're a scientist, you can say मैं scientist हूँ. If you're a writer, you can say
मैं accountant हूँ.
मैं accountant हूँ. See?
Yeah.
You can talk about your relationship. If you're a parent, you can say.
Yeah, can I say मैं शादीशुदा हूँ?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, मैं शादीशुदा.
मेरी एक बेटी is it है? Yeah, I don't know what else.
Okay, this is all good. Okay, this is all good. I'll take one more. And just to kind of give confidence to everyone. Okay. Let's say Chanel, you want to go? And if it is, yeah, go for it.
मैं Chanel हूँ. मैं एक माँ हूँ. मैं शादीशुदा हूँ. मैं न्यूजीलैंड से हूँ. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. So you see how they were able to use the मैं हूँ pattern and then use of say postposition in most of the sentences. Now, some of you use very interesting words like such as like married, like shadishuda. Okay. So similarly, like let's say government worker. If some of you is a government worker, if you were to introduce yourself, मैं government worker हूँ. Initially, it's all good that you can use some of the English words in there because nobody's expecting you to know every single thing or vocabulary words in Hindi. But what if you can still conduct the conversation and find out from the other person how do you say this word in Hindi? Okay, so how do you do that? We use it using a Hindi formula. Okay, so what is the formula? I'm going to write it down here and then we will use it in the practice. So in general, even in English, you will say how do you say that particular word, and you will say in Hindi. This is the formula that we have. Okay, now what you say is Hindi में को क्या कहते हैं. Okay, bear with me, it may not make complete sense right now, like why we came up with this thing, but in general, it's really saying, like for complete beginners, like if you were to memorize this thing, all you're doing is asking other person, how do you say that particular word in Hindi? Okay, so let's say you don't know the word for how do you say parent in Hindi. Okay, you don't know the Hindi word for it. Okay, you can say Hindi में parent को क्या कहते हैं. Okay, you don't know let's say the Hindi word for a tree. You can use the formula. Hindi में tree को क्या कहते हैं. And the person you are speaking with, assuming that they have, they are native speakers or they have better understanding of Hindi, they will be able to understand what you are asking them. And they'll say, Hindi में parent को माता पिता कहते हैं, or they can say Hindi में tree को पेड़ कहते हैं. Okay, it's a very important formula. That way it will not really break your confidence. Okay, you can still ask the questions as you're getting started in Hindi directly. Okay, so you will not gonna all of a sudden switch. मैं आशु हूँ, मैं teacher हूँ, and let's say you want to say that मैं vegetarian हूँ, but you don't know how to say vegetarian in Hindi. Okay, I can all of a sudden, hey, Hindi में vegetarian को क्या कहते हैं? Okay, and the person will say Hindi में vegetarian को शाकाहारी, or if any other words also, they'll be able to help you out with that. So I want all of you to memorize this formula. Hindi में, and then the word that you want to find out what it is called in Hindi, and then postposition को क्या कहते हैं. Okay, and I want all of you to practice it in your day-to-day conversation. Okay, I'm gonna quiz you in just a little while, but I want you to at least all of you to look at it. Okay, one of the questions that was asked was like it could be a little bit like why it could be always placed here as well. Like, so let's say if you want to change the order, that's completely fine as well. If you want to say dash को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, so either way it's fine. Okay, parent को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, और river को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, और mountain को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं. This order is also fine. You can use either of those. Okay, let's say Tom, you want to volunteer, pick up any word that you are not sure what that is called in Hindi, and try to use the formula.
Yes, please, Professor. Hindi में automobile को क्या कहते हैं?
Yeah, very good. Hindi में automobile को क्या कहते हैं? Good. Any other word that you want to ask what that is called in Hindi?
Ashu Ji,
Yeah.
वो वाला है, is it क्या कहता है और क्या कहते हैं?
क्या कहते हैं? क्या कहते हैं?
So is it है or हैं if we say कहते?
Well, it's because it's no, it is कहते only. There will not be any है. There will not be any है. Right? I mean, it's that's an interesting one. Is it basically her question is, huh?
Ashu Ji?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of the ko, because I know it's कहते हैं हिंदी में pineapple क्या कहते हैं, mine is कहते, but it may be because of the ko.
I mean,
Not sure.
that's what I'm thinking as well. But I just took a.
Is it है or is it हैं?
Ashu Ji,
It has to be कहते हैं.
So the question is it like
I'm confused about that one.
That's fine. So I will look at it. The question is it like the nasalized hai versus the hai? Let's see. Amritesh, you were saying something?
Yes, we use nasalized हैं. क्या कहते हैं?
Okay. Why would you do that though, Amritesh?
I have no explanation, but we use here.
Yeah.
हैं. Yeah, as a native speaker, I use हैं.
Okay. Let me.
May I talk?
Yeah, go for it.
I think nasal sound है because the question is basically we ask you.
Yes.
So आप हिंदी में blank को क्या कहते हैं?
That's a better
आप
explanation.
is like a subject, so should be nasal है.
Okay, that's definitely a much better explanation. Nandini ji, you were saying something?
I think it's because what do people say for
Yeah.
this in Hindi? So it's many people use those words. So कहते, so because it's कहते हैं.
Okay.
It's
Very
कहता है और कहते हैं.
Okay.
Also, yeah, it was a very good explanation. Like if I replace आप with तुम क्या कहते हो? तुम
Okay.
ऑटोमोबाइल को हिंदी में क्या कहते हो? So
Perfect. I think that makes that it's a much better explanation for sure. Yirka, you were raising your
I wanted to say the same thought as Nalini.
Okay, perfect. So what they're saying is because it's there is an implied aap, or like many people, whoever you are asking question, like, or people in general, and because of that, even though it's not written here, if it's basically the nasalized hai here. Okay, आप river को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं? Okay, the way that was explained is basically or shared here is like if it was something else, तुम was used as a pronoun, like तुम हिंदी में इसको क्या बोलते हो? That's how it will end, right? Makes sense to me, but going back to it, try to memorize this formula. Again, this is a very subtle difference. It should not bother you as a beginner right now, whether it is hai versus hai. All those nuances will come along the way. Okay. So right now, going back to it, make sure all of you, remember it. Okay. Heidi, you want to use it? Let's pick up any word that you are not familiar with. Or let's say teacher. Teacher is the word that you don't know how to say in Hindi. Perfect. So anyone else would like to try it out? I want to make sure this is the opportunity for you to strengthen this formula. Tyler ji? Right. Someone was speaking. You can go for it. Yeah.
मेरा नाम इंगा है. हिंदी में mountain को क्या कहते हैं?
किसको? What is the word here again? Hindi में?
Mountain.
Modern?
Mountain.
I think she's trying to say mountain.
Mountain.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, mountain.
Yeah, my technology is really bad.
No, it's good. हिंदी में mountain को क्या कहते हैं? Okay, good. हिंदी में mountain को पर्वत कहते हैं. Okay, पहाड़ और पर्वत, either way is fine. Okay, पहाड़ और पर्वत. Okay, that's the good one. We'll take one more, and after that we'll basically switch. Tyler, you want to try it out?
Sure. So I guess I'll say fort ko Hindi mein kya kehte hain?
Okay. Fort को हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं? Okay, that's a good one. Fort को हिंदी में दुर्ग कहते हैं. Okay, amazing. Okay, so this is sort of the completion of Pingu learns in this first chapter, where you introduce yourself using the मैं हूँ pattern. You learn about two postposition मैं and say, and then you go over the formula. So we'll switch the topic now and we'll jump to the Hindi participle, which is the topic for the intermediate advanced students. But here's the thing, next week, because some of you expressed that you want to have regular sort of quizzes, tests, right? So next Sunday, we'll have a test on this topic, okay? So I'll just, as I always ask, each of you get at least 1 minute. You introduce yourself. It's okay to use more than मैं हूँ as well. Like if you feel comfortable, you can use more than मैं and हूँ pattern. The idea is like you introduce yourself. Try not to look at the notes. Try to feel confident and just speak what you're thinking. Okay. Try to use different varieties. Okay, something that you've not tried before, and that's a good way for all of you to build confidence. And don't let this be a pressure on you. Okay, it should be a motivation that you have to come and introduce yourself to your peers. Okay, so next week we'll start the class with just this test, with all of you sharing your intro. Okay, so we'll switch the topic and we'll go over. Any questions on this one so far, on the formula or introduction or about the test? No one is asking questions. All right, so we'll switch the topic. Yeah,
So on the 10th, it'll be on the last 3 lessons.
That's right, the last 3 lessons. That was sort of the proposal from a lot of you students, that you wanted to make sure if you miss something, there is an opportunity to catch up. Okay, so it will be the last 3 lectures. If you feel comfortable, you can feel free to use more sentences or more like concepts if you are completely okay with that, but at a minimum last 3 lectures.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So we'll switch to the participle topic, and we spent again last three lectures on it, or 2 lectures on it. Okay, we learned about this grammatical concept which has characteristics of verb as well as the other parts of speech. Okay, so we spent time on it, that how these are used in verbs, but they can also have characteristics of adjectives, such as like when we said a boy is smiling, how when you use it as a smiling boy, it is used as an adjective because it is telling us about, it is describing that boy, okay? And whenever you describe a noun or a pronoun, that's basically an adjective, okay? So we spend time about like how do, we in Hindi, how do we change the verb in such a way that it is, it can be said as an adverb. So that was one thing we covered. We also covered that participles in Hindi, there are two types of participles. First one is imperfective and the second one is perfective. And I'll go over it again, but if you guys recall, imperfectives are where the action is not done, it's still going on. Perfective, we didn't cover it, but it's where the action is still, it's completed, okay? Then we covered the, a little bit more is like imperfective can again split into, they can be used as an adjective or an adverb. We spent time on this one. Today we'll cover this one. So this is just like a little bit of a tree for you that it's a Hindi participle topic. Two types, imperfective, perfective. Within that we use adjective, noun, adverb. Now, if you guys recall, to smile is muskurana, and let's say if I were to, for the sake of example, if I were to say the boy is laughing, okay? The verb was hasna, okay? And you will say, ladka has raha hai. For this one, when it is used as a verb, you remove na and has raha hai because boy is masculine singular. When you want to use it as an adjective, if you guys recall, we take the verb, we have to take the form of the verb along with the form of hona, and then we'll say ladka after that. Based on the ladka, if you guys recall, we remove the na and we say ta. For hona, we use the masculine singular form and it's going to be hasta hua ladka. Okay. Similarly, if it is plural, we learned that it will be haste hue ladke. Okay, boys that are, smiling or laughing. Okay, for feminine singular, we said hasti hui ladki, girl that is, laughing. And feminine plural, hasti hui ladkiyan. So far, that's what we covered. Now let's see how we change that to an adverb. And what do we really mean by that? So I'm going to erase it. So here is again, we've not, from the beginner's perspective, we've not covered the adjective and adverb, but a little bit of background here. When we say, bachcha khel raha hai, a boy is playing versus khelta hua bachcha. A boy that is playing. Really, here you are describing the boy. And whenever you're describing the noun, you can tell that it is used as an adjective. That's basically you will learn when we go over English Hindi as well. So that basically distinguish, what is the description of the boy. Okay. However, subtle difference here. What if you are modifying instead of the noun or the pronoun, you are modifying the verb? Generally, whenever you're modifying the verb, that's basically your adverb. Okay? And generally in English, all the words, not all, but most of the words that are ending with ly, you put them into the, adverb category. Okay? Funnily or jokingly or laughingly, right? Those are all ending with ly. and those were the most basic form of the adverbs. We'll cover it, but because Usha Jain, it's an advanced topic, we are not really going over the ly, adverbs. We are really going over how do we use verbs to form an adverb. Okay? So I hope this distinction makes sense. Adjectives are describing the noun or the pronoun here. Adverbs are modifying the verbs. Okay? Now, when used as a participle, what you're doing is the subtle difference. Bacha khel raha hai, a boy is playing. In this one, khelta hua bacha, kid that is playing. Okay. Now, imagine that you want to really say while playing. Okay, while playing. Okay, while playing is basically the equivalent translation of an adverbial participle. Okay, so imagine again you have word khelna along with hona and ladka. Okay, so let's say I remove ladka here altogether. Okay, when used as an adverb, this will always be ending with a sound. I'm going to write it in Hindi basically, a, and then this will always be ending with hue by default. Okay, unlike when we use them as an adjective, there were 4 different things that we discussed. Okay, bear with me, it may be a little bit confusing, so I have to give you some more examples so it makes sense. But when you're using as an adverb, it will be khelte hue, always ending with a, always invariably always using hue. Okay, that is basically the rule for using as an adverb. Okay, now what does it indicate? I'm going to erase this part. So now I'm going to use a bigger sentence. I saw a boy. Okay, hopefully that will give a better explanation. I saw a boy. Try to think about how will you say it in Hindi. Okay, second one I have is I saw a boy that is smiling, or I saw a smiling boy. Either way is fine. This is the second one. Okay, the third one is I saw a boy while smiling. That means while the boy was smiling. Okay, let me ask some of you if you see any difference between this sentence and this sentence. Okay, what do you think, Yirka? Is there a difference between this and this? In English right now, not in Hindi.
I'm not sure.
Okay, it's okay. That's a complete and honest answer. Let's see, anybody else? Tom, you want to tell? Is there a difference between this?
Yes, Professor, if I may. Our second and third sentences describe what kind of boy it is. A smiling boy. It could, for example, also be a pretty girl or a big car. But in the third sentence, we're describing the nature of the activity he is doing. How is he doing the activity of the verb?
Okay.
How is he doing the smiling? Smilingly or while smiling?
Okay.
It affects the verb, not the noun.
Okay.
Or the verbal activity as an adverb.
Somebody is raising their hand. Let's see who would like to. Simona ji, go for it.
Yeah, I think in the second one, it's a boy who is in generally like someone who smiles, a smiling boy. But a third one, you saw him in a moment when he was smiling. It's not that he's general nature, to smile.
Okay.
Like usually smiling.
That's
And
okay.
the action is finished, I guess, in the third example, no?
So yeah, Anya ji, like what's happening here? This action, the action of the main verb, and this action, they are happening at the same time. Which I think Simona ji alluded to as well in her explanation. Here, really, you're describing the boy. Like, I saw a boy that is smiling. Okay? It may not be like, happening at the same time, as like the action of the main verb. Okay? But let me give you another question. Okay, another explanation. Let's say I spoke to Yirka while he is eating ice cream. Okay, so I spoke with him at the same time he is doing the other action, other activity. Those are happening at the same time. Okay, let me give you some more examples because this could be the confusing part for a lot of people. Okay, so the explanation that Usha Jain uses is, I'm going to write it down first so you can make a note. So in this case, subject, so this is the number 3 case. In this case, subject or the object, they performs the action, at the same time as the action of main verb. As the action of the main verb. Okay, that's basically the distinction. Okay, so when I say the second sentence, I saw a boy that is smiling. Let's see the first one. Here I'm going to come back to you only. How will you say the first one? I saw a boy.
Okay, I would say मैंने एक लड़का देखा.
Very good, right? मैंने एक लड़का देखा. I saw a boy. Very good, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. I saw a boy that is smiling. How do you say a smiling boy, like from the last class?
I would say smiling was muskarata. So I would say muskarata ladka.
Muskarata. Okay, you can say
Uh,
muskarata ladka. You want to, let's say, be explicit that it is used as an adjective.
Okay, muskarata
No.
hua.
Very good. Muskarata
ladka.
Perfect, right? So the first one is मैंने एक लड़का देखा. I saw a boy, right? मैंने एक मुस्कुराता हुआ लड़का देखा. I saw a boy that is smiling. Okay. Third one, you saw a boy while he was smiling. Okay, while he was smiling. Okay. What you will do is basically invariably this will end with a sound, and this will invariably will be hue. Okay, and also you are looking at that particular boy. Okay, I'm going to write down the answer first so that way and then I'll explain further. मैंने एक मुस्कुराते, always ending with a sound, हुए लड़के मुस्कुराते हुए लड़के को देखा. Okay, for beginners, bear with me, this can be really complicated. So really the basic sentence was मैंने देखा, I saw. Okay, I saw. That itself is hard sometimes, like, how do you put ne here? मैंने, okay, मैंने देखा. Okay, that's what you started with. Then you said मैंने, what did you say? आपने क्या देखा? मैंने एक लड़का देखा. Okay. Then you said मैंने एक मुस्कुराता हुआ लड़का देखा. Okay. I saw a boy while he was doing, while he was doing that activity. Okay. In the second one, that's not happening. Okay. It's a description of the boy. You saw a smiling boy versus, I spoke with you while you were driving. Okay. So I spoke with you while you were doing a particular activity. That's your number third. Okay. I spoke with you while you were eating, let's say, your dinner. So I'm doing that activity while you are doing something. Okay. That's not happening in the number two. Take a pause, because, I think some of you are still thinking, what is the difference? Anybody, like Tyler, you have some explanation, it seems? Go for it.
Well, I have a question for some clarification.
Yeah.
So, in sentence 1, the मैंने एक लड़का, मैंने एक मुस्कुराता हुआ लड़का देखा. Couldn't we still have the co in that scenario? If that was the case, it would be मुस्कुराते हुए लड़के को देखा. So, how would you differentiate if somebody is using the co in the first case?
That's a very good question.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It's a very good question. His question is if I want to put co here as well. Okay, for most of you it will be advanced, so bear with me here. His question is, even in the second case, I can say मैंने एक मुस्कुराते हुए लड़के को देखा. I can put को here also because I'm talking about that particular boy, a specific one. Okay, how do I know that it is used as an adjective versus as an adverb? Is it a description of the boy, or I saw him while he's doing that activity? So it's really the context in which you are having this conversation. Only that will define that. Grammatically, both of them are correct. Grammatically, it's absolutely correct. You can say that. So it's really how that conversation is happening, and and that will basically dictate how that is being used. But both of them are correct.
Yeah, that's complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated. Anyone else before I practice more on the third one? Yeah, Girka, you are raising your hand.
So if I understand well, let's say we have a friend who's known, like he's always smiling. Now in that case that I want to talk to you about this boy, I can use this second sentence.
Right.
Now Ashutosh, we're talking about the boy, and we know that that's the one who's always smiling. So
okay.
That's when I want to point to a particular person that is known for that verb.
He can be known, but even if they are not known, but if you, like, let's say even if you don't know them, but like you notice them, let me think of while I'm thinking, anybody else would like to give other examples here?
To add to the question, Ashu Ji, you were talking about someone who was driving. Can we use this चलाते हुए लड़के thing, or wouldn't it be possible because it's not something that belongs to the person?
That's right. It's not, you cannot use them in the second form. It can only be used in third form. Like, because like how do you describe a boy who is like, I mean, you can say,
It can be or it cannot be in the third form.
Third form it can be. Second one, it'll be hard. You are forcing yourself to make a sentence out of the second form. Like, so, let's say the sentence is, I saw a boy while driving. In this case, who is driving? The boy is driving. Okay? मैंने The second one is एक लड़का देखा. Okay. Now the verb is गाड़ी चलाना and then along with होना. Right? Or always ending with a. गाड़ी चलाते and then this one always be हुए. Right? गाड़ी चलाते हुए लड़के को देखा. Okay, मैंने गाड़ी चलाते हुए लड़के को देखा. I saw the boy while he was driving the car.
So, okay, but I don't understand why we can't do the chalata hua larka.
Chalat.
Can I try just a different form of explanation?
Okay.
I saw a boy is the first sentence. Second one is almost like I saw a boy who was driving. Almost something like that. And then the third one is I saw a boy while he was driving. Something like that. So the third one, it goes into the oblique as in te hue. Always te hue, even if it's a single boy. Or a single man. And even if it's a woman, it'll be same. I don't know. But
yeah, would it be te for
going to the oblique form, and that's what makes me think. It is like while it's capturing that moment while he was driving.
But I think, what was your question, Anjali? Were you asking the same question or were you asking something else?
Yeah, but I don't really see the difference in between the second form and the third form. I don't know how we choose one from the other.
I see. Okay.
I think it has to do with the core. Because according to the rules, when a noun is followed by co, it goes into the oblique.
No.
So everything that follows would go into the oblique also.
So I think
everything that comes before it, yeah.
No, that is correct. That rule wise, that is correct. Okay.
You mean would it be te if it's a feminine form? You mean like gari chalate hue larki?
So if it is a girl, मैंने एक गाड़ी चला. Okay.
Oh no, but female, the feminine form doesn't change.
Not yeah.
It's only
It stays
it's masculine
with larki, or it goes with chalati which larki.
So let me take a step back here. So if you were to say I saw a girl while she is driving, that's the question, right? Right? I saw a girl. मैंने गाड़ी चलाते हुए एक लड़की को देखा. That's how you say it. While she is driving the car, I saw a girl that is driving. That's how you say it. So invariably it will remain the same, regardless of the form. So let me erase that again. Okay. Somebody is raising their hand one more time. Randall, you want to say before I write down?
Yeah, sure. Namaste, Sabkoi. I think what they were asking is why, basically, why ko is added to the last sentence. And I think it's because it's a that object that it's indicated. You're saying that I saw this particular boy, and not just boy driving.
That is correct.
And so, yeah, if you add ko, then the grammatical rule follows, where everything that is masculine goes into the oblique form.
That is correct, but the point is the ko can be added in the second form as well.
Oh.
Right? Because you can point out you saw the boy, that particular boy, like who is smiling. Okay? Right? So that is basically throwing them off. Like still, how do you differentiate between the second and the third form? Anyway.
That's why I think, Ashu Ji, between the second and third, the difference is, even if it's one person, when we are saying while he was driving, you're going to say, or let me say while he was playing is much easier for me.
Yeah.
Khelte hue ladke ko dekha.
Yeah.
And if there are many boys, probably it'll be खेलते हुए लड़कों को देखा.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
that make sense? So it's the oblique. That's what is the difference. Differentiates whether while the person was playing or you just saw the boy who was playing.
So let's write down all the. मैंने खेलते हुए
लड़के को देखा, which means I saw the boy.
Yeah.
While he was playing. That's what I understand.
Yeah, that's right. So now the next one is खेलते हुए लड़कों को.
That means many boys were playing. While they were playing, I saw them.
मैंने खेलते हुए लड़की. So this is लड़कों already. लड़की को देखा.
But लड़की, will it be खेलती हुई or खेलते हुए still?
So let's write it down and then we'll say लड़कियों को देखा. Okay. What do you guys think is happening in all of them? The first one is basically मैंने खेलते हुए. Who is playing first of all? That's also is the subject or the object.
Ashu Ji, excuse me. I'm not sure my understanding is correct or not. Is मैंने खेलते हुए लड़के को देखा. My understanding here, खेलते हुए is while I play.
That's right. So that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Like, is it the subject or the object? Who is playing?
My understanding is subject.
That's right.
Subject. While subject is playing, that time I saw a boy or boys, girls.
That's right. So that is one variation. Now, if you were to put same thing, but it's basically मैंने लड़के को देखा. Now, खेलते हुए is put in after here. Your understanding will change now. Who is doing the playing? Is it the I or the object? मैंने लड़के को खेलते हुए देखा. I saw the boy while he was playing. Okay? मैंने लड़कों को खेलते हुए देखा. I saw the boys while they were playing. मैंने लड़की को खेलते हुए देखा. I saw the girl while she was playing. मैंने लड़कियों को खेलते हुए देखा. I saw the girls while they were playing. Okay? Go back to the definition. We said, it's basically subject or the object perform the action at the same time as the main verb. The main verb is to see. Okay? Now, in this case, anybody can be doing the playing. The subject can be doing the playing, which is happening here. मैंने खेलते हुए लड़के को देखा. Boy is not doing the playing. I am doing the playing, but I saw him. In the second case, I saw him, but he is doing the playing. So the order is sort of changed. But however, it's invariably खेलते हुए, regardless of whether it is masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural. Okay, let me write down more because this is a hard topic, right? So
okay, so Ashu Ji, it's a pattern.
It's a pattern.
Yeah. Okay, and it doesn't change regardless of the.
That's right. So let me do some more writing here before I take any question. That way, at least, so if it is while playing, if you guys don't remember anything at a minimum, try to remember this pattern. While playing, Irka, because you had a question, how will you say this part? Just this part, while playing.
Okay. खेलते हुए.
Very good. खेलते हुए. While playing. Okay. While speaking. Nandini ji?
बोलते हुए.
Very good. बोलते हुए. Okay. While cooking. Sharmila ji, if you are still there.
पकाते हुए.
Okay, खाना पकाते हुए while cooking food और खाना पकाते हुए. Okay, while driving, Tyler.
चलाते हुए.
Okay, while driving a car, let's say गाड़ी.
गाड़ी चलाते हुए.
गाड़ी चलाते हुए. Okay. Let's say while singing, Anjali ji. While singing a song, let's say. Gana, very good. Gana is a song, it's also a verb. Gana.
गाते.
Very good. Gana गाते हुए. Okay. Let's say while cleaning. Claire. While cleaning. Professor Claire in this case.
खाते हुए.
Yeah, घर साफ करते हुए. Awesome. Any other? So all these are sort of the adverbial examples, invariably ending with a. खेलते, बोलते, पकाते, चलाते, गाते, साफ करते. Invariably ending with masculine singular oblique form and always हुए. Okay. For all of them, okay, I can say I saw Yirka while Yirka is playing, okay, or versus I am playing, okay. To keep it simple, I can say खेलते हुए मैंने Yirka को देखा, which means while I was playing, I saw Yirka. खेलते हुए, while playing, I am doing the playing in this case. I saw Yirka. बोलते हुए, while speaking, I saw Yirka. I am doing, in all these cases, subject is doing it. Okay, if you start the sentence with that, it's basically smilingly. How you read the novels or books, sometimes they're smilingly, I did something. Okay, jokingly, I performed an action. Right? How sometimes you read the English sentence, it starts with the ly, like the adverbial form. It's just like that. Okay. Again, I can say खाना पकाते हुए मैंने यिरका को देखा. While I am doing the cooking. और गाड़ी चलाते हुए मैंने यिरका को देखा. और गाना गाते हुए मैंने यिरका को देखा. All of them, I am doing these actions. It can be done by object as well, and I am doing the scene. Okay. मैंने यिरका को खेलते हुए देखा और मैंने सिमोना को खेलते हुए देखा और मैंने आप सभी को खेलते हुए देखा. I saw you while you were all playing. Okay, while you were doing the action. Okay, मैंने आप सभी को बोलते हुए देखा. I saw all of you while you were doing the talking. Okay, मैंने शर्मिला को खाना पकाते हुए देखा. I saw her while she was cooking. Okay, और मैंने टॉम को गाड़ी चलाते हुए देखा. Okay, I saw him while he was driving. और मैंने I can say अंजलि को गाना गाते हुए देखा. I saw her while she was singing. Let me take the question now because I hope this is slightly better than before now. But let's see if it's still throwing you off, the second versus the third case. Like, how do I know? In the second one is description of the boy versus like the activity that is being done, along with the main verb. How's Kelly Ji doing? She's quiet.
Well, we were just saying in the chat, Christina was saying this, and I said too that we did this in the practice, that on page 8, Usha Jain, she talks about how you can be confused because they can look like they're the same.
Yeah.
So she said that you have to have context, for sometimes that's just how it is. So when Agnes was saying before, she's absolutely right that sometimes you can't tell because you need context. And her example is, Maine gar jate hue ladke ko dekha. It could either be, I saw the boy while I was going home, or I saw the boy who was going home. But you can't tell without context.
That is correct.
That's why
That
That's
is
a trick.
that is 100% correct. Okay, so
Right. And then I just want to say the thing that for me I'm trying to just establish is, because we had this in practice once where I was saying, well, I'm looking that up, you guys keep talking. But if I'm doing something and someone else is doing something, then you use jub tub.
that's right.
But if I do something, if I'm the one, like I listen to Hindi podcasts while walking my dog. I'm doing the same thing. So I use this. But it could also be the object. This is what I'm kind of getting today, is that it could also be somebody else doing it.
Yeah, because like, in this case, like I am talking to you, while I'm playing versus while you are playing.
Right. But it's not like the two actions, they're the two different things you use jumped up. So it's not like, while I'm doing something, you do something else.
Yeah.
That's a jumped up. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, jab tak can be generically used in many cases. We'll cover it again when we are in jab tab, but if you don't remember anything, because this is a hard topic, at least remember this part. While playing, while speaking, while cooking, खेलते हुए, बोलते हुए, खाना पकाते हुए, गाड़ी चलाते हुए, गाना गाते हुए. At least remember this pattern, that when used as an adverb, it's always masculine singular oblique form of the verb and always hue. Now, in the given scenario, when this is being used in a sentence, some sentence will definitely be tricky because you don't know whether it is the description of the boy or the activity. That is, regardless of, like, even in English also that will be the case, or in any other language also that will be the case. You can't tell, it's a description of the boy versus, or it is the modifying the noun pronoun, or it is modifying the verb. Any other question? One more example I'll give here, okay? How about we do the test of it in the next class as well? Anyways, you guys are like, so let's say this one, I saw him. मैंने उसको, I'll write down two more, okay? मैंने उसको सोचते हुए देखा versus सोचते हुए मैंने उसको देखा. Okay, who would like to go? Someone who has not had a chance yet. Vatsala ji, tell us both of the sentences. What do they mean? मैंने उसको सोचते हुए देखा, सोचते हुए मैंने उसको देखा.
The first one, I saw him while he was thinking.
While who is thinking?
While the object was thinking.
Okay, while the person is thinking. Okay, this person, the object. Okay. Second one.
And I think the second one is while I was thinking, I saw him.
Okay, while I was thinking. Awesome. Okay, that's another one. Hopefully, same thing in this case. सोचते हुए, you can replace these verbs. So homework exercise, because I think you guys asked for it. Homework exercise for this. Take these two sentences, replace this verb with other verbs, and use them into the adverbial form. Okay, that's the homework exercise. I can give you some examples. Instead of सोचते हुए, it could be रोते हुए. मैंने उसको रोते हुए देखा, रोते हुए मैंने उसको देखा. Okay, try to replace it at least 5 verbs. Simple homework, okay, not difficult. All you have to do is The pattern is there as it is. All you have to do is change this word. Okay, and try to at least think about what may be happening. Okay, I can give you some examples here, but don't use the same one. Okay, रोते हुए, हंसते हुए, चिल्लाते हुए. What is chillana here? Let's say, Suvilai, what is chillana? Chillana.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, to scream. Okay, चिल्लाते हुए मैंने उसको देखा, like shoutingly or screamingly. Okay, और मैंने उसको चिल्लाते हुए देखा. I saw him while he was screaming. Okay, another example could be office जाते हुए. Okay, office जाते हुए मैंने उसको देखा. While I was going to office, I saw him. Versus मैंने उसको office जाते हुए देखा. I saw him while he was going to office. Okay, I know we are right on time, so I'm gonna stop the broadcast, and I'll take questions from you. And